Good afternoon. Today we are going to be working a little bit with division. I know that we have touched on division a little bit here and there this year, but haven't spent too much time. This week we're actually going to be spending a lot of time on division. So we're going to start off here by taking a number, and the number we're going to work with today is going to be 35, and we are going to write it as a number model. So next to your computer or iPod or iPad or whatever you're using to watch our movie this afternoon, I want you to go ahead, pick up your whiteboard, and on that whiteboard I want you to go ahead and draw this model of the number 35. So you should have 3 tens, which I'm using as bars, and then 5 ones, which are your circles. So go ahead, take a second and draw that. Okay, now that you have your number drawn, what we're going to be working on today is, like I said, we're going to be working on division. So for our first problem that we're going to work through together, we're going to be taking the number 35 and we're going to be dividing it by 5. So if you write it in number form, it would look like that. Okay? But what we want to think about first is we want to actually work with the numbers and think about how that would look if we actually took it. And that's why we're working with a model, so we can actually physically see what taking a number and dividing it means. Now, before we get into this here, the one thing that you should know about division is this is an inverse operation for multiplication, meaning it's the opposite of multiplication. So one way you can think about these problems is you can actually take the numbers and put them backwards. So you can think of this problem as 35 divided by 5, or you could also think about it as 5 times what equals 35. And we're actually going to use this inverse part at the end to check our work. Okay, so back to our problem. Now, we have 35 divided by 5. Okay, now the tricky part about this, obviously, is that, you know, these 5 ones over on the side, they're really easy to divide into a group of 5. So if I wanted to take 5 ones and divide them into groups of 5, I can actually just take them and split them up so I have 5 groups of 1. What's tricky to split up, though, are these groups of 10, and I have 3 groups of 10. So there's a couple different ways I like to approach this. One way is I can just simply count, and I can use dots or tallies or whatever. And here's what that's going to look like. Okay, so basically I'm counting to 35, and I'm making 5 even groups. So I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So when I do that, then I still have my 5 groups, and in each group I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is 5 groups of 7. So basically all I've done is I've created a giant array just through counting out and dividing out the numbers evenly, and I can then go back and I can check myself. So I can say, all right, I can not only physically count these and get 35, but I can also take these, because again, they're an inverse operation. I can go 5 times 7, and I can just work that down here at the bottom, and that's 35, just like that. Okay, so that's what our problems are going to look like, and that's one way we can work them out. Okay, so what we're going to do right now is we're going to do one more together, just in case you need a little bit more practice. And as we go through and do our next example, the other thing that I want to go through is I want to go through and talk about a little bit more with the math vocabulary. So this time I'm going to draw the number 24. So I'm going to draw it just like that. So 2 tens blocks, I'll make them a little bit longer, and then 4 ones. Okay? Now this time I'm going to take that, and the problem I'm going to try to solve is going to be the problem 24 divided by 4. Okay? So again, this first group of ones, really easy to figure out. Okay? So I can take those and I can draw them, and I can space them out just like that. Okay? Now, I'm going to show you a little bit different way to go about this this time than the last time. So the last time what I did was I took the tens and I counted them out, and as I counted I drew, and then at the end I ended up with 7. So what I have now is I've taken care of the ones and I have the tens left. Another way you can do this is to take each 10 and to think about how that would break down. So within each 10, I picked the wrong marker here this afternoon, you basically have 2 4s, and then you have a little bit left over, which is 2, and those 2 2s make another 4. So another way to think about this is you have a 4, a 4, a 4, a 4, and then the leftovers make another 4. So if you take them and break them apart, what you really have is 5 4s, and then you have another set of 4s over here. So that's 5 4s, and then another set of 4s, that's 6 4s. So another way to think about this is, besides counting, is you can break apart things and actually kind of think about it as an addition kind of a problem, or a subtraction kind of a problem. So those are the 2 basic ways that we have today. And again, I can check this several ways. One, again, I can use that inverse operation to check. So I can take it and say, well, I came up with 6 4s. So what's 6 times 4? It's 24. Okay, so I know that this is 6 because I went through and I checked it. And this 6 right here, this number, when we got an answer for a multiplication problem, you remember we called it a product. When we got an answer for an addition problem, we called it a sum. Subtraction problem, difference. This actually has a name. I'm going to write it on the board here. And the word is quotient. Quotient. Q-U-O-T-I-E-N-T. Quotient. That's the answer to a division problem. So you'd say, my quotient is 6. Okay? Now, I'm going to have you guys, really quick, on your boards, if you've worked out these 2 with me, have you work out one more on your own. And when you're done with this problem, I want you to take your board and find me, and I will gladly check over your answer and make sure it's right. So on this next problem I'm going to give you, I'm going to have you try to figure out what is 32 divided by 8, and I will use a better marker when I make my next video. So right now, I want you to make 32 times 8, so go ahead and draw your picture model. So your picture model should look like that. And this problem is going to be a little bit more challenging. The first 2 examples I did with you, it was really easy to divide out the ones digits because they were an even grouping with what you were dividing by. This one is a little bit trickier. So go through, answer this question. When you are finished with it, please find me, bring it over. I will check your work and move you on to something else.